are very many challenges that we may come across while on this journey of transformation, awakening, and why perhaps many of the non-dual gurus and teachers do not really place emphasis on it, a perspective. Of course, to begin always with the core that which we are primarily as consciousness, there is no process, there is no awakening. Awakening that feels like a process to the mind that lives in linear and conceptual time, that which it is. It's simply expressing its own nature. While that which we are is already completely, absolutely awake and aware at the level of Shakti as one mind. That which we are at the level of pure consciousness is Shiva, nothing can be uttered about it. Anything that comes into expression in the world of form is in the realm of Shakti, the one mind. And even at that level, we could say that is timeless, as in she is all aware, all knowing, right now. Consciousness, that's why, is timeless, processless. So when what the linear thinking personal third density mind names as the process of awakening, transformation, all this is in the realm of the relative identity. It lives its own paradigm. We need to be able to, even at this level of manifested consciousness, hold the paradox of this, because that which we are as consciousness does not awaken. It already is. If you want to bring it time, because the words are always set, words are for the paradigm of the personal separate self that lives in time. So in that aspect, to bring in time, we may say, I was always awakened, aware, am and always will be, because this is the realm of that which I am, my primary identity, changeless. But with all the questions that are arising, especially, of course, the question and the answer, this dance belongs to the personal separate self-mind, the third density body-mind experience. Naturally, all these questions come up because at the level of this body and the psychological self, the thinking I and the world, which is one paradigm, we experience this as a deepening of awakening. So this is the paradox, at the level of that which we are, nothing is happening. Nothing changes there. We eternally are. And this is our already eternal, ever-present primary state. Nothing changes. And we know this because even when we speak, we share, we express, we do everything, we say, I am. This is first. I am awareness. To be aware is first. Without awareness, nothing can exist. It's the very ground in, through, as, which, from. Everything else arises and dances. The infinite worlds, stories, ideas, identities, worlds, perceived infinite selves, that Shakti dances as. Nothing changes. But right now, these words are arising for the questioning minds, the seeking minds, as we move through this phase of transformation. Because this is something that is not expressed too much, especially in the traditional non-dual world by the teachers. I want to offer a perspective on that. Nobody speaks about the challenges that is faced after awakening or self-realization. I want to word this right, just hear this very clearly. Growth, which of course is the linear process, happens at the level of the body-mind world. Growth, right? The linear growth. When the mind is unconscious, all simply phenomena, it naturally reflects and expresses what it is. It experiences everything as a problem. But when we are conscious, there are no problems, even at this level. There are only challenges. So growth involves challenges, and when we are conscious, it is engaged with as such. But again, these are not very commonly expressed in the traditional non-dual world, and I'll offer a perspective on that. But this is very key because this is being sensed as coming up in the field. So the inspiration for this video. First and foremost, why perhaps the non-dual teachers traditionally did not place too much focus on describing or sharing or talking about the natural challenges the body-mind world faces as it moves through this transformation. The self is reality. The I am is the world. There's no difference. The personal is the collective. The universe is the drop, that is the wave, that is the ocean. They're all the same. Simply the nuances of that are experienced differently. But the main theme is present. It's there. That's why we see that the transformation that we may be going, perhaps uniquely on a particular subject, the one that this body-mind is going through might be different on yours, where you find your challenges versus I do. This personal I that I think I am and that you think you are. But if you look at it at the larger picture, that's why a higher perspective, right? We sense the theme of that happening in our world. That's what we're seeing in the collective. And there's a lot of things that are coming up to be seen. It's a very blessed time to look at this. But why the non-dual teachers perhaps did not speak about this, and I'm sensing into the consciousness of these teachers. First of all, when we live as the true self, we don't live in time. Everything is simply a response to what arises. Perhaps during those times, the consciousness that lived, if we are putting it at the level of time, because as consciousness, there is no time. We're timeless, everything is right now. But now, all of these are of course addressed to the personal body-mind world. So the languaging is going to be in time. So, for the consciousness that was questioning, for the dance that was happening there, naturally the true self's response is always in context. It arises together, like how with the personal self, its reflection, the world arises. It's exactly like that. As the true self, there is no one idea. The response naturally arises in response to the question, which sets the context. It arises in the field, right? So that's something to kind of keep in mind. For the consciousness that was present at that time, that is the languaging that was needed. Because sometimes, we look at these traditional languages, and this is where the questions were coming from. We open it and it's like, it denies, the body to be gross, reject the world, deny the world, once for all, drop it, don't look at it. If we sense deeper, we can perhaps sense into a deeper intention in that. And everything is that, right? At the surface level, whatever the words may dance as the actions, what needs to be noticed is the intention behind. And of course, as I always share, it has to do, the deeper we stand, that's why the eternal invitation to come from the beginner state of mind, Zen mind, the deeper state that we stand at, the deeper we are able to sense behind the words, behind the face, behind the style of expression, whatever that may be. Because the masculine five senses seeking mind that is still dancing as the five senses only dances as that, takes everything at face value, the face that it sees, that is determined by the face it is. That's why we only see what we are. Subtlety, the feminine depth is only sensed when we drop down to her depths, that level. Then we can sense behind that. And we are already this. Please note, because the personal mind always translates this into a doing. Oh, I need to do this. No. Start interpreting the invitation to look at everything as, how am I already this? It will bring a radical shift. Simple invitation. How am I already? The intuition, the depth of intuition. How am I already intuiting? Allow the known mind to stay open to the seeing of what already is. So if we sense into this, right? The sankalpa, the deeper intention of these teachers. So if we sense into this, one way of sensing into this, right? Because the masculine mind, which perhaps has been impacted by the narratives of some of the non-dual world, right? I hear this so much in the field where non-dual world, it's spiritual bypassing, it's escaping what is, all of that thing. Nothing lies outside of us independently. It is co-creation, and that co-creation is dependent on the level of awareness, level of consciousness, that which we are, that allows for that play. That is why the call of these times is to wake up to radical self-responsibility when we are playing a part. So for the personal mind, which lives as this fragment and says, yeah, but can you not see this is happening on the outer? Let's keep that on the outer. Yes, let's say that is happening on the outer. But at the same time, there is a part of the way that we are engaging with it, the way that we are seeing it. Everything is at the level of consciousness. When we are conscious, we are aware, we can deeply sense behind the words. We do not engage with it. We are then not impacted by it. And when we are, it is pure blessedness, because what it shows us is what lies within us, what we are unconscious to. So this is the invitation. An unconscious personal third density body mind state puts its experience outside of it, and therefore losing simply an appearance for play, because that which we are, nothing changes that. Putting the responsibility outside, we give our power away, which is innately not a possibility, simply a play of being unconscious. So this is an invitation to kind of sense into this as we're awakening. How we interpret anything we come across. The invitation for the personal mind is to see that with the most open, expansive, and that is why we would say positive outlook. This allows for a higher perspective. When we live only as this five senses, this narrow, we see things, experiences as isolated incidents. When everything is the I am. The I am is how the what is seen. The observer and the observed is the same. All that is happening is the flavor of the observing. Right? So this is that space. That's the invitation. This allows for a higher perspective. And then this is Shakti, right? All encompassing. So we see a higher perspective. The I am, the more we are all encompassing, equates to radical self-responsibility for the I am and my world. As I do that, that is when I see a larger perspective, not as these isolated incidents. I don't pull out isolated incidents, experiences, individuals. I see the pattern that is happening. I can see a larger picture of what is actually happening. This is the invitation. This is the invitation. So for this mind that is looking at the non-dual world as well, this is another perspective to explore, right? Everything resonance. No one outside of us. There is no external authority. Only we get to decide what is true for us. I want to make that very clear. And I offer a perspective for this non-dual thing. See, everything arises from the I am. It's the vibration of the frequency of the mind, the I am, that determines the dynamics of the playground that we play. It allows for the level of awareness. So the I am is everything. Perhaps why all these teachers, non-dual teachers, and not everybody, because we really cannot sense into another's intention, right? But that ultimately is not important, because we'll just keep guessing there. What is important is how we see, because that is going to determine the way that we are going to engage with any material, with any teacher, with anything, with life. So it's the non-dual, right? When we are aware, when our level of awareness is deep, then there is a natural result, because the world is a reflection. The body, psychological patterns of the psychological I and world are all at the relative level. They come later. Awareness is first. So these teachers were in many ways just inviting us, take the direct path, stand as the I am, because this will unravel everything. They did not perhaps want to jump into the stories, use so many words as we do to explain the challenges, of awakening and all of this, what is happening at the dual world, right? Of the I am duality of the Dwapar Yuga. They were like, stand as your true self. Be aware. And that's true. The rest of it automatically happens, right? When we are aware, we are clarity. Nothing needs to be said. The clarity allows for the natural seeing of the challenges that are coming up. So this is what they were inviting us into, right? Stand as the I am, and the level of awareness that is there at the level of I am will show that. See, all teachers, all gurus, every state of mind shares its own experience and is speaking to in the context of that. When we take it out of context, that's when the trouble starts. There are teachers who will explain this, all of this, at the level of the body, what happens, everything. But not all teachers are for that. The ones who are living as the light itself, as I am awareness, they truly are living that. They do not see bodies. Because they do not go by what the five senses only see. They live as a state of consciousness, and they only connect and sense at the level of state of consciousness. So that's why when we hear, it sounds so funny, right? When we hear the teacher saying, what body? What thought? What are you talking about? Because they really are living at that level as awareness. That's where that natural response and languaging comes. And it is true. When we are seeking and we are at the level of this mind, we are still identified with the body and the awakening is happening, all of that. Naturally we struggle. And then, if we are not aware, everything is a reflection of our awareness, how we interpret. Then we put in meaning making. We say, oh my God, these teachers, they're spiritual bypassing, or they don't talk about this. Well, they are only speaking. We always express where we are, what we are, at which level we are. That is why the invitation always that Shakti says, keep your attention, mind your own business, your level of awareness. That is going to, this center, whatever that center is, whether you see it as a person, beyond that as the world, or whether it's the centerless I am life, everything, whatever that is, that is what determines the being, the seeing, and from that, the doing, the expressing, the interpreting. So always the question, how am I seeing? What interpretation am I giving my world or the self, one and the same, or another? It's a direct reflection of what we are experiencing, what we are living as, the lens that we're living at the relative level. This is a path of radical self-responsibility, of living as I am power, Shakti. So this is an invitation to explore this. So that's why perhaps, these teachers never really delve too much into all of this. Because standing conscious, these challenges that would come up would be seen by the clarity. Because these teachers were not looking for followers. These teachers were simply living knowing that each self is sovereign. Once we wake up to that which we are, our sovereignty, that itself becomes the light. The living light that allows for the clarity with which we can see things. So the perspective on that, because consciousness meets its level of consciousness. We're always being triggered, we're being supported, whatever that is at the level of the consciousness which we are. We can allow all of life, which is that it's in service for, at the relative level, for our waking up, for evolution. Everything is only serving in service of that, so that we can remember that which we are, or even beyond that, realize that which we are, the unknowable, the unnameable, and awaken to the phenomena that all there is knowing, all there is happening. And now we'll jump into the challenges that the personal body-mind world faces as we move through this transformation, right? Because the mind that lives as concepts and sees things externally, naturally so, right? Always see this as a phenomena, see this as everything is natural, every swa will live its dharma, experience things like that. So when we are living as the five sensory mind and we look outwards, we make meaning from what we see on the outside. We do not know what is behind that. And that is why, at some level, when we live as the personal, we are only assuming. Have you seen this? We can only make assumptions about anything else that is outside of us, perceivably. Right? And that's why in this world, we say, somebody else's actions give us a glimpse into what they are doing. But ultimately, when you wake up, you really see, we can never really, that's the paradox. Right? Shiva and Shakti are one and the same. Pure consciousness is manifested consciousness. Formless as the form. But they never meet. They never meet. This is the core, the paradox. At the level of mind, it is only through the nature of the mind. So that is why when the mind dissolves, true meeting happens in silence and in stillness. True meeting. Meeting who? Nobody else, that which we are, because there's only consciousness. It's only one divine being. That's why all these words, only pointers at the level, surface level. In service only for the thinking mind that seeks, that lives as a separate self, seeing the separation, seeing distance, condition, time, space, is this. That's why, one more thing, the gurus, the teachers, they spoke very little, I want to share about even Ramana Maharshi, he spoke, always says, I don't want to speak, but I speak in response to the questions that are coming, right? Otherwise, silence, satsang. Nothing needs to be said. We are already it. No wisdom needs to be given. And yet, the one divine being that forgets reminds herself in unique ways. Some through silence, some through words. Too many to even name. So the challenges that come up, see the way that this mind has been vibrating, living as a separate self, living the conditions. There is no true separation, right? I said, the I am, the mind that vibrates, that's all there is. It percolates everything because there is no separate things. The mind and the body are the same. The mind and the body, right, are the same as the world. Everything is born from that. So even the mind, the beliefs that we carry as, that we have unwittingly taken on from our world, from our environment growing up, when we are unconscious, is imprinted in the body as ideas, as beliefs that are so subtle that we don't even know. So when we wake up, right, I'm all speaking at the level of the relative level. So there's time in that. So when we deepen into awakening, when we wake up, we see, this is, I am that which has never changed, that which is seeing, that which eternally has been. While my body has grown up, I've collected, this mind has collected ideas, it believes this body is an I, and there all of that. But behind that, to put it in words, right, it's infused, right, everything is in the lap of awareness. But behind that, see, that awareness has always been, it doesn't change, it's not touched. So when we awaken to that, right, and I want to name something here right now for the seeking mind that might be thinking that you're not awakened, it's an impossibility. Only the personal mind which lives in linear time will say, I am, enlightening happened to me, it's happening, awakening happened, lives in the process because it experiences things. It's a tool to experience that which we are as linear happening. That's the paradox. The light that which we are is eternally there. We only move it, identified as this linear mind, and then live those concepts. That I'm going to awaken, this already is. So if you have the thought again coming up, I am not yet that, you already are. And that's why again the invitation, a powerful invitation, Shakti invites, she says, instead of from this moment, if this resonates, from this moment, invite yourself to see. Instead of the personal mind, which is a natural doer and wants to do, it lives that phenomena. That's how we taste, as if living as a personal doer. Instead of looking at everything as, this is what I need to do, why not look at it as, how am I already this? This allows for the shift of seeing, because the being is the seeing. How am I already this? Right? So at this level, when these challenges come up, so when we wake up, now what happens? We are aware. We know we are not this body. In that sense, right? We are awareness. That doesn't change. That the mind is vibrating. And therefore, that dense vibration is what allowed for the illusion of unconsciousness, made me wake up and identify myself as if awareness is only from this body, what I touch, what I see, right? Allowed me to dance and play this masculine dominant experience, simply an experience, this paradigm and the flavors of it, both, right? What we've had fun with and what have been the challenges of it. The beautiful ways in the way that we personally relate. We have our relationships as if we're separate families, communities, all of that. The way as a person, unique gifts, supposedly of a separate person, right? All that we've appreciated all of that. Those things. And the other, the pros and the cons, as one may say, right? It's always both. Right? We get to taste this as well, and then we come into this, which I've shared in my seeking video. When we're full of the world, we also experience the other side of it that allows us to wake up, right? Steeped in separation, and especially as the masculine dominant energetic experience, the flavors of that living as matter. We see everything as matter. The world of the noise, intellect, rules as the master. That's the masculine way. That's why patriarchy. That's why consumerism. All natural effects. Nothing is going wrong. As Kali reminds, in time and space, I live all times. I live all worlds. I am that all is. Period. Right? right? So these are simply the flavors of that. And these beliefs that we have taken on, they're not just of the mind, right? So when we come in unconscious, identified with the body, psychological I, again, if you're watching this first video, there are enough videos I've gone into detail with that. What happens is this ideas are imprinted in the body. Not only that, this body belongs to Mother Earth, and there is a stream of our ancestral lineage, the lands that we come from, the narratives of that. We are not apart from our ancestors. They live within us at this level. So all the constrictions, the suppression, whatever perceived at this level, we need to be able to hold both. And I want to name that, that's why. Because when we don't, then we get lost in a particular story and we react from that. It's a natural phenomenon, right? So that is experienced in the body. So it's all imprinted. So this, when we awaken, when we stand as awareness, this is a new way of being and doing. That doesn't live as time, that doesn't live as concepts. And for so many years, we've been living as concepts, right? As this idea. So naturally, all that starts to come to surface. That is what we are seeing in our world right now. Everything that is coming, the turmoil, everything coming to surface. To be seen, if we are not aware of that, what is happening, if we have not taken time to be that aware, we will again interpret only from our 5 senses and make meaning. And the personal regurgitates, live the same paradigm, trying to find solutions. So this is the invitation for that. We're transforming right now. Energetically, it is already done. It is not a coincidence or a random thing that you find yourself listening to this, or that you're seeking, whether from this video, wherever. There is nothing, as the person is an illusion. It is the one divine being that is awakening her own self. I say her, but you know what I mean. It's this beyond gender. Living it very, very powerful, transformative. I can't even name it, that kind of time. We are focused here right now for this experience. And we are all experiences. We are multifaceted, multidimensional. So these challenges that come up are a natural phenomena of the disillusion of the masculine. That is why the only guidance for the mind that seeks is surrender. Surrender. Dissolve. So the disillusion of the illusion of that psychological identity, what we are, is seen. The truer reality already is. I keep sharing these two, primary versus secondary. They're not separate. It's this. The primary is the womb, the hold. Everything is from this. All the other states of mind are within this, illusions. So it's not that we need to jump paradigms, right? It's only for the seeking mind that looks in the masculine, we transcends, we look at this like we're transcending from this paradigm into this. No. It's this. The dissolving of the personal. We already are our truer reality. I am awareness is primary, right? So this dissolves. That's why the invitation to surrender. It's the same what we see in the non-dual world. When we are not aware, then we start, the thinking mind, and I'm not going to go into that, but the mind that lives the masculine thing loves living its concepts. Observe it has a trend, right? Natural phenomena. So just observe this mind that lives concepts. Unless we don't see these concepts with the right light, all determined by the I am awareness, then these concepts limit us. So the challenges that come up are natural phenomena. So, very important within the self or whether in our outer world, when we see these coming up, most important is for us to stand in our most aware self so that we can see it in the right light. That is what it will be for us. There is no right way to do this. Each one senses into this in their own way. So that's why always trusting our own seeing, trusting our own way, because the I am at the subjective level is unique, moving unique, sensing uniquely what is happening. It cannot be given as a flat out concept, right? As if it lies outside, this is what it is. Each mind can only speak of its own experience that is valid for it. So I wanted to share this. Every time there is a shift, this is a natural phenomena, that a lot of these things, as a newer way of being and doing, a newer world emerges. And it's all determined by the self, right? So naturally we're going to see this, that the old ways, the ways of structures, all of this is going to dissolve, crumble. And so within even the body, we will see a lot of challenges. So we may see radical shifts in the way in our lives, right? So we might see changes in, perhaps we are in a career that has always supported us, and that's what we'll see a shift in that. Maybe we lose our jobs, right? Or we might see it in our health. We might see it in any way, in our relationships, however we see it. Because again, when we look at it this way, we separated life, fragmented way. This is my career, this is what is happening in my career, this is happening in my love life, this is what is happening in my parenting scene, this is what is happening with my body, with my health. But it's all one. We stand as awareness, we see that. Uniquely for us, it might be arising in any one of these fields, or two, or a couple, or all, who knows, right? But if we're here holding a larger person, we'll sense the pattern. This is the I am. That's why taking time out for ourselves, creating space. If we've lived a life, this is the invitation, and we are all sensing it. This is again arising in the field because of all the questions that are coming. If you're sensing deeply to take time for yourself, do that. That's what it allows for, this gap. Then we see the conditions that we have been living as in the conditions that the way that we are relating. This allows for that space. And then when these challenges come up, be very aware. When we are aware, we don't automatically take narratives of the world. And because many ask me to share personal stories, I'm going to share one. In this awakening process, moving through at the level of health, one may say. And as these shifts are happening in the body, it's just been such a blessing, this journey to stand as awareness, because then only we can sense within the body what is happening in that sense. So as I was moving through this, right, this changes that are coming, it was so clear to see. Very important, I want to name before I go into this, is that the world is a symbolic reflection. As we are aware, we will be able to sense. Everything is interpretation, so we'll be able to sense deeper, right? So if you're not aware, We take on the narratives of the world. If there's an expert or anybody else coming and telling us something, we don't really sense our resonance to it. We just take it on as if it's something that is true because, hey, that expert or the doctor or this one in the field who has lived is telling us that. That's the invitation age of Aquarius. This world is an amalgam of states of consciousness. To be aware helps us, right? And it's important because even this, as much as we are aware, we have our own blind spots. We have our own conditioning that can shroud clarity. So as we move through this, whatever challenges that come across us, the world can offer us helpful reflections, others who've been on this journey, right? They can really help us. So in India, in Hindi, there is a wonderful saying. It says, "Sabki suno, par ant mein khud ki karo." That means be available, listen to everyone, right? Because all is life. Life is reminding us in different ways. But in the end, move only to your deepest knowing and resonance. This is the way to build trust within that which we are. This is the invitation of the Sophia age of Aquarius, the age of intuition. Integrated, the feminine and the masculine. The feminine is the source, which then the masculine, right? She's the ideas, the dreams that manifest concretely as our world. Everything was an idea before. Where did it come from? Everything came from the nature of the mind, from this inspiration. That is the feminine. That's the invitation. That is living the wholeness, that which already is. Right? We know this. Wholeness is not at the level of becoming, we might name it like that, but at the non-dual self, wholeness already is. So, as we move into this, when we go through these as challenges, masculine mind, we are facing outwards, we are listening to others, we are doing all, that's fine, right? But resonance is here. Very important, very key. So for me, this time was such an eye-opener. And I could see, right, moving through, whether you're talking about any changes in the body that are happening. At the level of awareness, I was very, very clear, unlike ever before. This journey for me began 20 years ago, more than that even. But concretely, the shift happened 20 years ago when I had 22 years ago when I had my first child and experienced health issues, which we know right now, always in hindsight, these kind of things are gifts that come our way to awaken us. And I remember at that point, the kind of fear that was experienced and the doubt, because as I stepped into the world, these were the narratives that were offered. And the awareness wasn't there. And of course, by well-meaning, nobody, in my opinion, really means ill for anybody else. It is simply the state of consciousness in which we are playing. Right? So that's why our resonance. But this time, aware. So as any shifts in the body, right, this journey of what one may say has taught me to be facing inwards, to see, right, in words, putting it in words. It's very aware. And then you can sense the state of consciousness, whether they are a doctor who are practicing for God knows how many years or not. You can sense the state of everything is state of consciousness. You can sense where they're coming from. You can sense the doctor that is grounded and expressing from that. And then there are doctors that are coming. This is happening. Okay, we'll just operate. We'll finish with this. Oh, this has become. This is what this means. I remember at the time of my delivery as well, I want to name that because it was the same. If your labor went beyond a certain time, we'll just finish it. We'll just do the C-section. So this is, I want to be very clear about this. This is not about speaking about where the doctors are or what they're doing. Each state of consciousness lives its own world, is sovereign. In that context, our only duty is to be aware, self-responsible for the level of awareness that I am. This way we can determine and decide for ourselves what our choice is. Right? The world will give us naturally. Every state of mind is sharing its own experience, its own state of consciousness. We get to determine which path does our heart resonate with. There's no right or wrong in this. So I want to name this because the mind that is at the level of surface then thinks, oh, should I have done this or done that? Should I have done the C-section or not? Or should I have, done this surgery or not? It's really not about that. It's not about the doing. The doing, the focus of the doing is by the masculine mind, that is the doer. When we become subtler, we can say it's about the state of being from which the doing is arising. What is that state of being? That will determine. So as we come across challenges, it was so clear, right? And from that, the choice could be made. So for me, if the body needs support, or if anything, right, in whichever field, who am I going to listen to? Who am I going to co-create with? It's important. Everything is a co-creation. And the flavor of that co-creation, everything is relating, will be determined. My end is the level of awareness I am that will determine the relating. We can't control that's an illusion. There is nobody else to control. This is the path. That's why, later we come to know that every experience that we talk about, experience as if it lies outside of us, is within us. It is determined by the I am. Two people come into the same experience, walk away with different narratives. Why? The nature of mind that perceives, interprets, and takes away. That is the invitation of this time. And how beautiful and empowering is that? Because we don't need to go running in the world or running to others. We just need to see the self that which we are. Direct. Anybody can do this. Doesn't require any outer circumstances in that sense. We have a minute, we can do this. We have 5 minutes, we can do this. This is the invitation. Right? So I'm just sharing this because, of course, personal experiences. Right? So the sharing this as a personal experience. So then that determines the actions that we take. So when we go through challenges, whichever field, however it is, the underlying core is this, the transformation, the change. Everything at this level, at the relative level of Shakti, is ever changing. Change is the only constant. So we're going to experience that, right? What is going to determine the way that we relate with it is the I am. That's all. So these challenges that are coming up, and that is what we see in the collective level as well. Deepen into this. And that will allow for innate intelligence to uniquely move through as you. Nobody else can really give us that, while the outer world can be helpful during these times. But again, that will be determined by our level of awareness. So this is still primary. That will allow us to co-create with others at a higher level, at a more aware level. And we are already that. Just see, how am I already that? That's the invitation. So I wanted to kind of name this because this is coming up. A lot of, at the level of transformation, at the changes that is coming up. All these imprints, beliefs that are there that come up. So as emotions, they will come up. This range of emotions, right? Because we at the relative level are energy in motion. There are other energy in motion that is experienced. Again, I say we can use words like bliss, joy, love, but that unnameable love, joy, bliss, the innate being of that which we are, cannot be, they're only pointers. But the mind that only knows conditional love, conditional joy, the bliss that belongs to this realm, will only interpret it and understand it at this level. So that's why understanding of the mind is limited. It is only to bring the mind to this point, surrender. This cannot be understood beyond a point because every state of mind only understands its own. That's how nature is. Swadharma. The Swa lives its Dharma. Every state of mind is this whirlpool. It lives its own nature. It lives its own experience. It perceives only from its own lens that which it is. Right? So the I am, as we become aware, right? So that's why if things are coming up, this was key because so many questions are coming up. If you find yourself in a flux, know first and foremost, you're not alone. There is nothing like alone. Because consciousness is. We are moving through this transformation together. It might look different. It might look like we are in different places. And I want to also name this. Every mind that goes through its challenge or struggle or its problem, however you want to put this, for that mind, that is big. When we live in separation, sometimes we look at somebody else's problem and they say, my problem is big, that problem is nothing. But that's how nature works. Every state of consciousness and that being and that mind, for it, that it is experiencing, we take on challenges that fit our I am. It's simultaneous. For another, maybe our problems are not big. Your problems, doesn't matter. Each mind, that challenge is what is being experienced, is big. So stay with your own journey. This is for the mind that is unconscious, that compares. We give our power away. Natural phenomena. So to awakening and being with our own journey. Right? Knowing we are not alone. Because aloneness at the level of separation, fragmentation is an impossibility. That is why for every mind that awakens, every mind that seeks, it seeks for everybody else. Every person that stands as the light stands for the whole world. One consciousness, one divine being. So everyone that awakens, this awakening, like I said, has already happened at the level. This is a phenomena. It's the great awakening that we're calling upon. There's no way to escape this, even at the relative level. No way to miss out on this. No way to fail on this. The wave, right? What's that quote that's coming up? A rising tide rises all boats. That's how it is. It's relax. Relax. Relax with everything, even when you're not relaxed. So when these things come up, the body, right? This has held momentum, one may say. If it comes up, observe. The more sharp, strong, that's why being aware, the more we are grounded as awareness, we are able to hold even when these waves of emotions come up. We're able to see. We don't get one with it and wash away. And even if you do, that's fine. That's part of the play. No big deal. Don't make it a big deal. Don't use the narrative of the mind if it again comes and says, oh my God. Laugh. There I go again. Right? Okay. So stand as this. So that's why the non-dual teachers say, be here, just don't move. Just don't move. Be aware. Why? Because this sharpness then can see with clarity. Whatever comes up, comes up. Observe that coming up. Standing as awareness can hold that is coming up. You can see what meaning making was done. With that clarity, we can see in the world what meaning making is being done. We create our world. It's like a hive, Everything is by the narratives. 10 people believe something, that starts creating this energetic world. The same 100, 1,000, million, that becomes the world. We think that's how the world is. That's the power. That's the power that we have. How are we seeing that which is happening? How are we seeing our world? How are we seeing our world? Ourselves. That's the blessed invitation. And there is no words here that are coming out that is new. There's only one consciousness here. This is only at the level of surface. There's only one field here. There is nothing that is being uttered here, that which any mind does not know innately already. So sense into this. As we move through transformation, as these flux happen, see how this is also serving. Because our old ways of being and doing are not going to serve. As the self changes, so does its reality, so its world. Being okay with the discomfort of it. And that's why the importance of being in the company as well of people who are journeying this, right? Very helpful, especially in the initial stages, even more so. Because, we haven't yet found our ground, right? It's like, the ones who've awakened, we know that. It's like we're not yet grounded in that, right? Like, the thought still takes us back. So when we are in a community that kind of supports this kind of way of relating, this thing that is so beneficial, so helpful. When the doubting mind comes in again, right? Doubt, questions, moving back to old habits, all of that, right? Then we are in communities where we know we are all growing together. We know that, okay, it's not just me, because that's the narrative of the personal mind. Very helpful. And of course, I want to name another thing, that it's also not about escaping the world, right? Of what triggers us. All is life. Because in the world, we want to be in the world. Because what triggers us, right? It's a blessing. It's showing us what is unconscious within us. We wouldn't know otherwise. When we are completely conscious, like awakened, this thing, we're like transparent, luminescence, glass, it moves through us. We can clearly see what another is saying is their state of consciousness. If something has touched us, we know exactly what has touched us, what we need to own. Perhaps this is what I was having, and we say, oh, thank you, because this wouldn't come up in me if it wasn't for you. Right? Everybody plays as a mirror. All of life is beautiful. Life is living that which we are. So that's the invitation. So as these changes come up, in anything it might be, right? Any topic. All is life. It comes up, crumbles. Hold this in the highest context whenever, and that's why for the personal mind, with courage, with compassion. Right? Because when we are identified primarily as the person, we see ourselves flailing, falling down, getting up again 100 times. See the strength of the human spirit even at that level, Dwapar Yuga. But the flow of life as water is always moving towards the ocean. Undeniably so. So this is the invitation. So I wanted to just share this. So these are the challenges of awakening that nobody really, that was shared, that many do not talk about, especially in the non-dual world. Another way to see, it's not necessarily always that things are spiritual bypassed. Look deeper whenever we see these words, concepts that are thrown. Very important. The world that is the masculine dominant mind loves to live in the world of concepts and takes that to be the truth for everybody. Now the current one being be vulnerable. Oh, if that one's not, that person is not vulnerable. It doesn't work like that. See deeper into all these narratives. Somebody's positive, the recent word that I used, toxic positivity. See, every nature of mind will interpret and see from that its own understanding. We've all been there. And this invitation is to see all this with a larger perspective. Is it true? And can I really assume what it is for another before I go ahead and say that? Or can I only see what it is for me? Right? And again, I want to name something. Whatever is happening, whether we say it for another, it's the one divine playing all these flavors. There is no other. That's the paradox we need to be able to hold. So to blessedly journeying this together, because there is only one, the non-dual self, as we move through these transformative times. All is well. All is eternally well. That is our true nature. This allows us to play this game even at the relative level when we are going through flux together. Much, much love. Swadharma, Swatantra, to see this as a phenomena, depersonalize, so that we can play our highest game. Sarvamangalam, at every level, every state, I am blessed auspiciousness, pure sovereignty, to living and celebrating an awakened body, mind, world. Much love, much love, much love.